Murphy, Deputy, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and I too would like to congratulate the Minister on his appointment. I think it's great to see him there in the chair, and it's great to see you flying the flag for Dublin South East or Dublin Bay South in government. Many of the points I want to make... sorry, I missed that. I'd love to. Thank you, Deputy. Yeah, but many of the points I want to make on this piece of legislation are not positive, in fact. But, Minister, I don't want you to think that they're directed at you. They're not. Many of the points I made on this piece of legislation actually I made in the motion on the budget that we had 3 weeks ago. And this is second stage debate on the social protection legislation to put in effect those budgetary decisions. But it's not a debate at all because the decision is already made. We're just going through the motions here, in fact, and that's part of the reason that I have a problem with how this Dáil operates. And in fact, the decision wasn't made in Cabinet either. It was made before it went to Cabinet. And I don't know why we continue to stand over practices that we don't believe in. Labour Cabinet ministers, who are not members of the EMC, have criticised the operation of the EMC and how it sidelines the Cabinet, how it sidelines government. And they're right, because we have in our government a Cabinet government, and that means no less than 7 ministers. And that may not be the most efficient way to run a government, but if you believe that, then change the Constitution. Because the Constitution puts the Cabinet at the centre of government, and that's the body that has the authority to make decisions. Yet when it comes to things like the budgetary process, we've seen how even the Cabinet now has been sidelined. And Labour Cabinet ministers also don't agree in this idea of a budget day, of us all coming in here on one day in the year and announcing all these secrets, as they were described, to the country, and they have said it is crazy, and they said that in the Public Accounts Committee. So why do we continue to do it? These are things that we want to change, and yet we're not changing them. And, you know, that question, why shouldn't knowledge and power be concentrated in the hands of a few people? Because it leads to bad decision-making. Think back to 2008, think back to 2010. You know, why should we be debating in detail the budgetary figures on a year-end basis, getting them costed independently as TDs, getting into the detail, going through the different ideas and possibilities and permutations, and then making a decision? Because that's what the Dáil is meant to do. Think of the 8 years leading up to the financial collapse and what the Dáil didn't do. And why are these in that body? If you look at the back-to-work dividend, the OECD criticises our level of social welfare payments because they act as a disincentive to people returning to work. So what do? We increase social welfare spending to try and incentivize people to go back to work. I think that's a perverse logic. And we haven't actually discussed that in detail here. And people may not agree with that. But there is absolutely no point in having a second stage debate when the decision is already made. You know, and the only room for amendments is where the department may have realised that something has been overlooked or a mistake has been made. That's not the proper way to do things, I think. And in no way can such a parliament hold the government to account. In no way can such a cabinet hold the EMC to account when it operates that way. Just on a final note, and a positive one, Minister, in relation to some of the labour activation things that you've been doing yourself, some of your own initiatives, and you announced one recently when we had an evening with the Chamber of Commerce. They're fantastic. Things that you're now looking at in terms of, you know, a new website to have the CVs and using technology so we can have kind of active live CVs for employers, for people trying to get back to work, is another brilliant idea. And I hope it gets implemented and implemented quickly. So there are very positive aspects, I think, and it shows what new people coming into roles can do to break old thinking. But on that point, thank you, Chair.